Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining me with Right at Home. I am here with Ryan Johnson, the president of Right Roofing. At Right at Home, it's the homeowner's inside guide to getting it done right the first time. How are we doing today, Ryan?
We're doing great, Mike. How are you?
Doing wonderful. Couldn't be happier if I were twins. It's almost the weekend, so I'm excited for that. It's my second 29th birthday coming up this weekend, so I call it my second 29th. It's just sounds way cooler that way.
Yeah, for sure.
So today we're going to be talking about I know this is a good one for you. I know you're very interested in this, that it's something that a lot of people don't think about, and it's what happens where your roof meets the siding, gutters, and trim. So what we're going to be covering, we're going to kind of break this down, is why so many roofs have problems that start at transition points, and how should these areas be handled. So that's what we're going to be talking about. So Ryan, let's just kind of jump right into this. And why are transition points often where roofing problems and leaks, start out and first develop?
Well, at Ray Roofing, I always say the roof doesn't end at the shingles. The transitions are where most problems really happen, right? So your flashing points, right? It's a very generic term when people say flashing points. We're talking about step flashing, head wall flashing, kick out flashings. Any transition point from our shingled portion of the roof to a siding portion, to under a window, and through a pipe, through a valley. That's pretty much the main area concerns that we have as we're installing that roof is those areas to be looked at very closely.
No, that makes sense. That's something that the common guy like myself wouldn't even think about because, as a homeowner, I know when I look up at my roof, if the shingles are all laying flat, nothing's curling, and I don't see anything missing, I think it's okay. I
Yep.
don't even think about any of this other. So when you say it, it's common sense, but you don't think about it. So I love the fact that you guys take, the time to, know the science behind it, I guess. So what does a proper roofed wall connection look like? And what are the most common mistakes that, roofers make?
So that roof to wall connection, the proper step flashing is going to be pretty much everything in that area. And
Okay.
it doesn't just stop with that step flashing. So a lot of times when your roof is getting replaced and they're like, yeah, we replaced all your flashing, right? Well, if they didn't at least cut out that siding 4 to 5 inches to actually inspect that and flashing fully, it's really hard to 100% guarantee. You can reuse the flashing in that area, but a lot of times you get little pinholes, things that you can barely see with the naked eye. So having fresh flashing in those areas is pretty key. And then a step further than that would be, okay, is there house wrap? Is there a vapor barrier that integrated properly over top of that step flashing? A lot of times it's not. So those areas come up as an issue. Oh, a few weeks ago we had about, I don't know, I think Ankeny had like 4 or 5 inches of rain. I think there
We
was
had
a bunch of
six.
flooding that was happening there. And that rain wasn't just coming straight down. It was wind driven. It was kind of blowing in all directions. It almost felt a little tornadic, right? And that's where that next component, that siding and that house wrap underneath your siding and how that is taped and transitioned and all those stuff that nobody understands or cares about as a homeowner, all becomes really critical. No siding is 100% watertight. So if it's not watertight, that house wrap pretty much takes up that extra 10%. And then getting that integrated properly with that roof flashing basically is what's going to survive you and help you keep that moisture out of your house in those areas.
No, and like I've heard a lot of people say in the construction business on all ends of it, water's not picky. It does not discriminate. It
That's
it
right.
uh it'll find it's a very loving element that loves to be everywhere, and it will go where it can find a way in.
Yeah, and I always say that the water is going to go where you tell it to go, right? So when we're roofing, we're channeling water, right? So you're going to get moisture in those areas, and we're just channeling that water properly to where we want it to go. There is instances where water goes uphill, but usually that's like a tornadic type situation. It's a catastrophic type deal, right? When water's blowing up your roof, there could be problems.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty hard to
That's
fight.
our derecho that we were just discussing before we started this.
Yes, exactly.
And the funny part about it is nobody even knew what a derecho was till about 5 years ago. So never even heard the term. So you were talking about siding earlier. Why can if you replace the siding without addressing the roof connections, how can that lead to water damage?
Yeah, so a lot of times you'll get well, I'm going to get new siding in my house. What does that really have to do with roofing, right? Well, when you pull off that siding, you can get a good look at all the top of your flashing on that roof. So a lot of times when we're doing a siding project, we're going to have an estimated number in there for replacing that flashing. That means we can see the top side of it. If it's not proper, we're going to go ahead and take it a step further for you. So we're actually going to install that new flashing while that siding is torn off. That's a big part of replacing flashing, is that it's not only the roofing portion, but you also got to get underneath that siding there. So when we're doing new siding, we're not going to cover up a problem for you. We're going to make sure that that flashing is perfect. That way, when your roof does have to be redone, they're not going to have to replace that flashing for you. We basically saved a step for the roofers because we're going to install brand new flashing for you in those areas. And then that way, when their new roof is going on, you don't have to tear off the new siding to replace that flashing. And doing it at the same time is obviously the most efficient and most cost-effective way to do it.
Oh, 100%. No, that makes complete sense. But obviously when they need a new roof, they're going to call you for that as well, because, it's probably just best to do it all at one time. That whole, you save a little by doing it once. So,
yep.
So now we're going to move on to the gutter system. So how do improperly installed gutters contribute to fascia rot, water damage, and ice dams?
Yeah, so we have this little transition piece that we call gutter apron that transitions from the edge of that roof, the eaves, into that gutter. A lot of times we will see the gutter get installed on top of that little piece of gutter apron, which basically then we're telling the water where to go, right? It's going to go right down behind that gutter. Then it's going to start rotting out your fascia. It'll start getting in the seams and the crevices there and kind of start working its way back into the soffit and able to cause a bunch of damage in those areas. So that transition area is something that we always look at pretty carefully. A lot of times we need to extend that metal so that it's just basically getting that water into that gutter system for you. It's a pretty simple thing when you see it. But it does cause a lot of problems, and it's a slow problem, right? It's that slow issue, and it happens for 10 years. And then, oh, what's going on here? Now you're repainting, you're replacing stuff. You got to pull off the whole section of gutter, and it can just cause a lot of damage in those areas, kind of that sneaky damaged area. Yep.
No, that makes complete sense. So you were talking about soffit and fascia. Why are fascia and soffits so important for proper roof ventilation and water management?
Yeah, so your soffit, basically that gutter is going to keep that moisture and stuff away from there, with that transition being perfect. But that soffit is on most houses, 99% of the houses now, that's where your intake is into your roof exhaust ventilation. So we're always taking a look at those. Sometimes those old soffit vents that they'd cut into the soffit, those can tend to get clogged, and then your intake stops. Your roof stops venting properly over time. So we're always looking at that soffit to make sure that you have proper intake there, so that roof exhaust, whatever we're using for your ventilation on the top side, the roof, it works 100% in capacity with that. So it's a 50% intake and it's a 50% exhaust.
Okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. The proper air balance. So another thing that you had addressed earlier that I wanted to ask you about is the roof valleys. When you were talking about the valleys and channeling and telling the water where to go, why are roof valleys one of the most important common places for leaks to develop?
Yeah. So, doing that transition area properly, it's pretty simple. We want to have, ice and water shield for your extra layer of protection, because that's where your things are going to build up, right? So if you get leaves and twigs and stuff like that, they're always going to kind of collect in the bottom of that valley there for you. So doing a proper installation in that area is pretty key. Understanding how that water is flowing, which side goes under, which side gets the California cut on the other side. Valleys are going to be a pretty key area. It's a very simple thing. We see it all the time. It's a very simple to do it properly. But it's definitely an area that wants to catch a lot of debris and moisture in those areas. And the key with that valley is that we're leaving room for water to run in that area. So we want it to run right down the center of that valley. Some guys will cut the valley shingles too close to the valley, which
Yep.
kind of catches that water, and then it starts filtering in and running under those shingles there, and then you get these sneaky leaks that come up. But the valley just takes a lot more abuse than the rest of the roof does. So a lot of times people will decide to go with a metal valley, depending on if they get a lot more tree stuff dumping on your roof, things like that. But that's a key, really simple thing. We have standards of how we exactly do those areas. Yeah, making sure that those areas done is another critical aspect of that roof.
Yeah, another thing that, a common Joe like me doesn't even think about. So let me ask you this. Let's shift over to kind of Iowa specific. So how do Iowa's UV exposure and temperature swings, because we have huge temperature swings here, how does it affect like pipe boots and other roof penetrations?
Yeah, so those UV rays, they eat through stuff, right? So we get the harshest, we get the super cold, we get the super hot. And these are
Yes, we do.
rubber gaskets. Anything that's kind of rubber, it's basically has the shelf life, right? So it's only going to last for so long before they start to degrade. In those areas, we take an extra step for all our customers. We double up our collars on everything. So basically, it's just another rubber gasket. So instead of getting, 12 to 15 years out of that gasket, we're getting close to 30. That's why we
Nice.
offer better warranties than most guys, because it's the most common area for that roof system to kind of fail. It's going to be those areas. That's why that maintenance can become pretty important in areas to keep an eye on stuff. But the UV rays, man, they're tough to deal with. That's what that roofing system is there to do. But that's your quickest fail point on a roofing system.
No, it makes complete sense. I mean, being from here and obviously driving around and seeing the homes, I mean, we are a very wide open flat state, and we get everything here. I mean, we're just flat. I mean, you know that. I mean,
Yep.
we are a pancake state, and everything just comes right down on us. So
That's why we got all the windmills. Yep.
100%, 100%. So we'll kind of wind this up. We've talked about, quite a few things here, and let's just kind of wind this up with my last question. Because I know you got a lot of roofs to put on because you're a busy man. So can you let us know why it is important to treat roofing, siding, and gutters as one complete exterior system rather than separate projects?
So this is exactly why Right Roofing in Des Moines does roofing, siding, and gutters. After 29 years, we have learned you can't do one right without understanding all three. It's a system. They all work together as a complete system to keep you dry and watertight. So that's kind of the biggest thing. Right Roofing, we approach the transitions is what separates professional roofing companies from just nailing on shingles.
No, that makes complete sense, because I have seen people get their roof replaced and then they just throw their old gutters back on there. And I mean, again, just being a common Joe, a couple of my neighbors, they had some pretty bad problems after that first winter, and things were separating. And I mean, we that's a whole nother episode right there. We could probably
Yep.
talk for hours on that. So, thank you again for joining me. We've learned a lot today. Things that, again, what I like about our conversations is, common homeowners like myself, we don't think about the things you and I are talking about, and it's great to educate people and let people know that if they want it done right, call you. So I want to thank everybody for joining us at Right at Home with Ryan Johnson. He is the president of Right Roofing. And buddy, I look forward to our next talk, and let's learn some more about siding, windows, gutters, all that fun stuff that you do.
Sounds good, Mike. We'll talk to you
All right,
soon.
buddy. Have a
All right.
great day.
See you. Bye.